Usually they did.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully keep it back here, bro.
I'm pretty sure I don't see how it's like.
You want to come over? So we go for one drive. Get coffee. Call me in 2 months after and let me know.
Yeah. You've been here before.
I can do the east side, yeah.
You're leaner instead of me, huh? You're leaner. I ain't going to contact. I'm not going to comment on that either. Far away from you only lose your ass being with the house. There are some people from paradise just go away. Yeah. Hotels or wherever. Well, they claim responsibility. Oh, are you serious? So we're not even paying attention to the broke ground. Alarm down there again. When they came out with what is
Hey, Gary.
On either side. Fiber optic. I mean, they have the same thing. It's not fiber optic. More of a. And I'm right in the middle of both. Good to go, man?
Now they evacuated all the 6 It doesn't matter. Everything's different.
Yep. We did really well with these things, though. I had two of them. Totally damn
Everybody lost power. I actually ran it.
When we lost power, I was running my credit point on my truck battery in my inverter. That's awesome. And the same thing with this. It's where it's at. How did how'd the fair turn out? Looked like your show. I didn't go to it. Because you were right after Marshall County. No, we were there Thursday night. Oh, then I didn't. Then I wasn't. It was good. I wasn't. I thought it was like did you go see any of the concerts? I was backstage for Marshall's. Those guys are good. I mean, I know the community keyboard sax at the end? Yeah. Yeah, yes. I was like, when have you seen that? Right. Yeah, I look at people like that because he's actually and he's young. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they brought him on with materials. Incredible. I was
They had that all.
That goes up Kenny Ridge and they don't stop it here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me out there?
Yes, thank you.
All right, good. If you can't hear, then try to move a little closer. I think that's all the volume we got. So I'm Dean Groudon. I'm the Sheriff of Lassen County. I appreciate everybody coming out today. Apologize for the short notice. But with all the rapid changes that happened in the last 24 hours, we wanted to get you guys some information. I'm going to start off with a report from Jaime Gamboa. He's the Deputy IC on Team 4, one of the management teams managing the fire.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jaime Gamboa. I'm the Deputy Incident Commander for California Interagency Incident Management Team 4. So how about better? So Team 4, Jaime Gamboa. So we are responsible for managing the east side of the fire, down here where the fire started pretty much. At the hill of the fire, we've got this entire west side, and Cal Fire Team 1 has we have the east side, they have the west side. So I'll go over the east side of where we're at. Currently the fire has some containment line here on the south end of the fire, moving across. Even though we're showing some red, which the red means showing uncontained, we do have lines in place, but because of the heat that's still near the line, we're not showing that as contained. We are currently working this area here. We're in the wilderness up by Bucks Lake. We've got some crews in there continuing to mop up, but again, just because we're not sure full containment, we're still showing that as red. So the black means contained. We're not showing that. We do have line across moving further towards the east, coming up and around. We do have some dozer line in this area here. Everything is looking good. Our resources continue to mop and patrol this entire western edge of the fire. As we move up towards Division Q, we do have some, again, still moving towards the north. Yesterday, we did have, with some unexpected wind, more wind than what we anticipated, we did get a spot across Highway 89 and made this push to the north. That's pretty much the concern that we have right now. We do have some rough line from here at the reservoir up towards the north. We were able to kind of contain that, but we're still working with dozers trying to make sure that we have full line containment on that. Moving over towards the east or towards the west of that, we are working some crews trying to establish an anchor point coming in off to the north, moving towards the south, trying to connect the dots in this area. This area has been problematic. We still have some fire that's open on this side right now. So Highway 89 is what we're trying to concentrate on with efforts from the west zone as well. Yesterday they were working in, moving from the west at the bottom of Lake Elminor towards the east, and we were trying to move over towards the west. Where the fire pooched out, that across Highway 89, that was approximately about 500 acres or so. Crews overnight did make some good progress, so we do have some containment not reinforced. It's still working that area. It's a concern because of the anticipated weather for today, afternoon or tomorrow evening. So that's the big concern, is that if this fire continues to move towards the west and or east, if it comes out of our containment line here, there's a potential for that fire to continue to move north. We do have a contingency line from the head of the fire at this time on the west side, contingency dozer line out back towards the lake. But again, not knowing what the weather's going to do, that's our biggest concern. Pretty much is the reason for calling this community meeting together. Again, we're working to try and contain all this. That's pretty much our primary challenge right now. Everything else, like I said, is looking fairly good on the west side or the east side of the fire. That's pretty much where we're at. Any questions?
They said on Facebook that you had catcher's mitts in place. What does that mean?
So catcher's, what they're calling a catcher's mitt is somewhat this backup dozer line right here. Should fire come across, we have another opportunity. That line's already constructed to try and contain that fire. Yes.
I've been learning a lot about these fire maps, but can you give us geographic areas instead of area Q or area Bravo?
So Clear Creek is going to be in this area, I believe, so I apologize, because Clear Creek's going to be over in this area. Greenville is where the fire came out and made a push yesterday. Crescent Mills is where the fire containment line is that we currently have that we're working. And right there around Greenville is where the fire pushed out. Moving further towards the east out here, let's see. This is going to be Lake Road, right in this area here. This is going to be encompassing the area just north of Quincy. And this was pretty much the fly fire that took off, and the Dixie Fire burned into that. So this is all going to be Quincy area coming down. Out towards Bucks Lake and pretty much out towards Highway 70 down here at the bottom. Is that better?
That containment line you said you had, catcher's mitt, is that Hahn Road?
That is Hahn Road, yes. The dozer line right up in here.
Okay, all right, good.
What do they mean by Mooney Road? Is it Mooney Road out there in the staging area?
Hahn Road?
Hahn Road.
Mooney Road. We heard a warning about Mooney and 821.
Okay.
The cutoff dump road over here.
Okay. Yeah, just kind of wondering, like, in that area that you're concerned about, how far up, or has it reached, like, the west side of Petty Ridge? Is it starting to go up the ridge?
So we do have containment on the fire right now. We have dozer line around the most northern part of the fire, as well as hose lay. We're working hose lays with our engines. So that right now is contained. We're just showing it as red because still there's some heat near the line, and that's what we're trying to prevent. Want to make sure that we have containment line around most of the head so it doesn't move further south. The additional concerns are off towards the west.
Okay.
Right, there is no containment line on that side. We were just trying to prevent it from moving further to the north.
Yeah.
And we're tying it back in to Highway 89.
Right, so you feel pretty good about the north end of it? Like it's not,
We have some containment.
Okay, awesome. I'm sorry?
Sir?
What's the story on Chester Fire?
Chester Fire.
Let me go around this.
Okay, I'll pass it over to Scott Packwood.
I guess it's noon, so are we afternoon or before? Good afternoon. My name is Scott Packwood, Unit Chief for Lassen Modoc. There's an east zone and a west zone. That zone line comes up from Highway 70, follows the highway up, goes up the Caribou drainage, basically goes up through Seneca, comes up to Canyon Dam, and goes right up the east shore of Almanor. So that the Rock Creek drainage where the fire basically started off of Highway 70, coming up the left flank, the left side of the fire in Butte County. All this black line, I don't know if you guys if you're familiar with that area, Jonesville, Butte Meadows. Good containment. The crews have been working in there ever since the start, mopping up and strengthening those lines. Coming around through Jonesville and Butte Meadows, that was some really tough country basically, and coming around there, so you'll still see that we're not showing that 100% contained just because of the threat of it still being active in there. Coming up over the Humboldt Road to the kind of to the north and then to the northeast, it continues around and comes out to Humboldt Road, sorry, on up and over up into towards Chester here. So this area in here is what you saw the big activity yesterday, is it's making a run to the north, kind of east of Highway 32, south of Highway 36, and west of Highway 89 there. That was one of the big active areas yesterday. So it currently, you guys are already feeling that little bit of a breeze. It's starting about 2 hours earlier than it did the last 2 days. The last 2 days we had that wind pick up right about 2 o'clock, and it lasted until about 7 p.m. So we had about a 5-hour really active burn window where we saw that big active fire behavior increase. Today, the forecast is a lot worse as far as fire behavior goes. That wind is already starting, and it's not predicted to subside at 1900 or 7 p.m. like it has been. So it's going to blow through the night. This area is already picking up. It's already threatening to push Highway 36. So they're in there working that right now. They're already getting spot fires, and they're already redirecting crews around to try and deal with that. So it's probably going to hit Highway 36 east of Highway 32 there. As we come back around towards Chester, we have the corner of 89-36 intersection. There was really good, strong lines in there. Even Collins and SPI and the timber companies helped us strengthen and widen that, did some masticating, some thinning, ran feller bunches through there as well as dozer line. So there's a lot of control line in there, but the fire activity is such that it's out spotting us. It's getting a mile, 2 miles, and even beyond that in some cases when the wind picks it up. So those are 2 areas of concern today. 6 corridor around the west side of Chester. So that's a big threat for today. Coming down Highway 89 along the west shore. We had a spot cross 89 yesterday. It couldn't have been in a better place to go across the highway. It went through there where there's no structures, no cabins, kind of right between the campgrounds. You guys, I'm sure, are familiar with that area. So it ran until this morning. All that's starting to heat up again right now due to those active winds that we're picking up. And interior here, from about Humbug Valley around to the west shore again today and through tonight. So that's going to be really a big challenge to keep it from crossing 89 again and pushing in there to that Prattville Rocky Point campground area. It's also probably going to put my guys out on 89 right there where the 2 zones meet. Fire's also making a push coming up from this Round Valley Reservoir area where it's going to be really a challenge. You guys are familiar with that Wolf Creek underpass area where the railroad trestle goes across. All that area from Canyon Dam down to Greenville. Very thick timber in there. The road's not very wide in there, so, and it's coming down slope when it's kind of a slope reversal coming back up. Open that Old Hahn Road up about 5 to 6 blades wide, in increasing that road width. But as you know, that's an upslope run, and it's probably going to hit that really hard and be very difficult to contain. So fire weather, fire behavior, I expect it to hit that really hard. So I apologize for painting such a bleak picture, but that's what we're looking at today. So that's the west zone.
Question.
Yes.
At what point or what condition will evacuation warnings be issued for Westwood?
I'll let Sheriff Grouden kind of address that because he's been dealing with those daily. So we do evacuation meetings every day and they assess all that. And then based on our operations guys' input, they're broke out into zones and one zone affects the other and where that fire progresses. So I'll let him talk to that.
One more question?
Stand by.
All right, so I'll answer that real quick, and I'll give a detailed description of how those evacuation warnings and orders, how we handle those, and what you can expect from us if those become necessary. But like Chief Packwood said, you know, we had a meeting at 8 o'clock this morning, another one at 10:30. We're in constant contact with, obviously you got 4 law enforcement or 4 sheriff's offices involved right now. You got Lassen, Tehama, Plumas, and Butte counties. So we're working with the team on a regular basis with those discussions. We decided this morning to put that Clear Creek area under a warning just based on all that activity on the west side. Right now, we talked this morning, if it crosses those lines at Old Hahn Road in that area, then we'll reconvene a meeting and we'll discuss. And these things are made based on the status at that time, but also the progress or what you anticipate during a certain time period. So I can't tell you exactly now, but I can tell you we're working with and discussing those things regularly. And I'll let Chief Packwood answer other questions, and I'll come back and talk more in depth about evacuation orders and warnings.
Thank you.
Somebody over here had a question.
Yeah, I know with the possibility of smoke and ash going from 5,000 to 10,000 foot, what, if any, aerial support are you getting?
The aerial support depends on the visibility at a lower altitude. So sometimes when you're looking up from the ground, it looks like it's not terribly bad, but when you're looking down from the aircraft, it's really obscured. And if those pilots aren't able to fly safely, we just can't operate those air tankers. The helicopters a lot of times will continue to be able to fly low level because they can have reference with the ground. But the fixed wing are coming in at about 4,000 feet above the ground, and it's like flying through the fog. So
you're getting some aerial.
We can usually work the sides of those columns, but if it's like laid out over town or something, we just can't get in ahead of it. So it's a really unfortunate situation. Anybody else?
Here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it said that the water was 96%, 6%.
That's a terrible day for firefighting. So anytime the relative humidity is, especially when it gets down in the single digits, just about everything is going to want to burn. That's almost drier than when you go buy a 2x4 at the store. So it is not good. Yep. And it's not good. We're not getting that. Normally these big fires, traditionally, historically, have been late in the summer, and it's starting to cool off. The nights are longer, days are shorter. But we started this in early July. So we're 6 weeks ahead of where we should be as far as fire behavior goes, and it's only going to get worse as we get into late August. So it's really been a challenging summer for us so far. So we were seeing stuff all the way back in June that was burning like late July, and then it's continued that trend. Somebody else has got to have another question. Yes, ma'am. Probably that stuff over on Old Hahn area. That's the most threatening. What's that?
It's about 8 to 10 miles.
Not in the terrain, but when it's spotting a couple miles at a time, it gets there real quick.
I have a question.
Yes.
What would you say, what structures would you say I need to worry about most? Greenville or Westwood?
Right now, Greenville is the immediate threat, but they're all subject to this fire's path. The way our prevailing winds are usually out of the southwest in the summer, so as you can see down here towards Chico, it's made that northeast run, and that's very typical of a summertime fire. In the fall, we get those down canyons like we had during the camp and the North Complex, but that doesn't happen until later into the, coming up on the fall months.
The guy said this morning that
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the visibility and the perspective. So there's a lot of factors in that. I wouldn't say that's an accurate statement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I want to thank Chief Packwood. Obviously, these gentlemen have put in a lot of long hours on this fire. So, thank you. And obviously, Deputy IC Gamboa. We appreciate him coming over today. We were concerned. Highway 89 can be pretty treacherous right now, but we were really happy that he was willing to come over here and present for you. So I want to talk about evacuations. Our current status right now, we have basically the area splitting Walker Lake up to Ketty Ridge is all under a warning. And main thing, we don't want people at, Deer Heart, Homer, Hidden. We don't want people recreating on the backside of Walker Lake, because if it were to come over and start spotting those people, there's limited, ingress and egress from that area. So we just don't want people in that area. We did just issue a warning for the Clear Creek area. and that is, someone asked earlier about Mooney Road. So Mooney Road is that cutoff road out here between to the transfer station. Some people got confused with Moonlight Road, but it's Mooney Road right out here.
So can I speak up real quick?
Yeah,
so
go ahead, Forrest.
And 821 are kind of the same, they're both in. So when the warning came out, it was kind of, maybe thinking people were thinking maybe it was 821, 36.
Oh, okay, I got it.
In fact, I think it's 821 and 147.
Okay.
That intersect.
Yeah, and if there's some questions about it, we try to give it in multiple ways. So we have a vendor, Zone Haven, and if you go to our links, you can click on that link and it'll show you a visual map, because that's part of the thing we run into is on the mapping system. It shows that as Mooney Road, but there can be conflicts. So we try to give it in multiple ways. We try to spell it out. And then we'll say, if it was Westwood, it would say Westwood. If it was Pinetown, it would say Pinetown. But then we try to give some geographic borders, and we try to provide the mapping also.
If you're anywhere within those, I mean, if you're close to those zones, we have to draw a line somewhere. So if you're close to it, I would consider it affecting you. So don't just say, you know, there's a line in the sand and the fire's going to march up and stop right there at that line. Don't take it like that.
Yeah, and again, that's a warning. It's under a warning right now, but quite frankly, this time of year and with the weather we're experiencing, everybody needs to be ready to evacuate at any point in time, every day, not just because there's a fire right here. So with the warning, typically you'll get an alert that goes out. It goes out social media and a press release. And then like Clear Creek today, we went door to door, you know, knocking on every door, talking to the residents. Part of what we're trying to do there is determine if we transition to a mandatory evacuation, if there are people that will need our assistance, special needs, and so on. Also, people with large animals, we don't have a lot of that in this area, but typically in a warning, we recommend that people who have special needs, who it's going to take a longer period of time to leave the area, to leave, and also people with large animals to consider getting those large animals out of the area during that warning period. Because that mandatory order, you know, can come pretty quick at times. We saw that happen on the Beckwith fire down in Doyle, where it burned in one spot for a long period of time, and then we had a wind event and basically a firestorm ripped down through Doyle, and we had to transition very quickly from a warning, you know, to an order. So when we issue that warning, like Chief Packwood said, anyone in that area should be ready anyways. When we do issue an order, we do basically the same thing. You'll see the alert go out, press releases, social media, and we'll go door to door. And then we'll be telling people an order has been issued. You need to leave the area. In this case, because of the, you know, we've got the road construction that can present challenges right now. Yesterday, we had them shut down 36 temporarily, so only eastbound traffic could travel 36, but what I recommend people do is consider going 821 to Highway 44 and avoiding that construction altogether if you have to leave the area.
Is the construction still active?
Construction is still active, and the hard part is it's not, there's a, you know, you guys have seen that highway area is just torn up right now, you know, so we have to consider other options, and I would seriously recommend considering 821 to Highway 44, and I know a lot of people that know the area did that anyways yesterday when we were evacuating in Plumas County. And I talked about, you know, multiple sheriff's offices being involved right now. You know, twice now we've gotten like an all-call alert from Plumas asking for us to send as many people as we can. One was when they did Greenville and Taylorsville, because they were also doing parts over by Ketty and Quincy. And then last night, when it burned across Highway 89, I was on my way to meet the sheriff from Plumas, and it just, you know, ripped across the highway there, and it was unsafe for anyone to pass for a period of time. Doubled back, and then I got a call from him saying, hey, we need you to evacuate Chester. And they only had 2 staff over there at the time, 2 Plumas SO deputies, and everyone else was cut off. So we did an all-call and got about, you know, 12 or so of our cars, you know, called people in on days off and everything, and went over there and worked till midnight last night evacuating, you know, Chester, Lake Almer. So we're all working as partners on this together. Now we do have, I got Captain McGarva, Lieutenant Logan Rich over here with me. You know, they've been working. We have detailed plans where Westwood, Clear Creek, Pinetown are all broken up into zones. We have We know how many people will need to, evacuate those areas in a timely fashion. So we've got all that stuff written out, ready in case we have to use it. We hope we don't have to. But again, what you can expect is that, the alert to come out, the knock on the door, but everyone needs to be ready. Now, one more thing, if you decide to stay in your home and, if we can't, there's been some case decisions that we can't make you leave your home, but if you decide to stay at your home, you have to stay at your home. One thing we take very seriously is the security of an area once we evacuate it. So we're going to have, significant patrols in any area that comes under mandatory evacuation. And if people are out and about, that is a crime then. You can't be out and about in a mandatory evacuation area. And that's because we don't know who's a thief and who's not, right? We want to protect everybody's property. So you've got to know that. If you choose to stay behind, and there's some serious danger in staying behind too. Everyone's got to know that. We talked already. We know that no one can get out this direction, right? We've got highways closed already. We've got A21 right now, but depending on what this fire does, as it comes over, I can see it easily going out this direction and cutting off 36 towards Susanville. And the problem is sometimes if you hold out, those avenues available to you to gain safety are limited or non-existent. So when those orders come out to evacuate, you need to evacuate. Community College is an evacuation center we've opened for Plumas, and there are a lot of people from Plumas there right now. But we have space for large animals also at the fairgrounds. We do have plans to open additional evacuation centers. And then I gave the fire chief, the gentleman who owns the old mill over there. He's got a business on that site, but he's got a large parking areas. He's made it available. Fire chief. They're going to post these up on the board. I recommend, take a picture of it so you have it, just in case those things happen, that would be available to you. So any questions for me?
Kind of.